Today is Prime Minister's question period, the day where he's supposed to show up and answer my questions, but he's running away. And why wouldn't he? He doesn't want to answer about why his government knew for 2 years, since July of 2021, that a foreign agent was in this country threatening the family of a Canadian MP, and that he did absolutely nothing. He didn't kick the foreign agent out, he didn't inform the MP, he did nothing to protect the family. Now he's interested in protecting himself. He doesn't want to answer questions about the Trudeau Family Foundation that got $140,000 from the dictatorship in Beijing, specifically to influence him, a donation facilitated by his very own brother, who's testifying. Trudeau doesn't want to answer questions about the fact that he's trying to ban the hunting rifles of Grandpa Joe, instead of going after the repeat violent killers who are stabbing and shooting up our streets. He doesn't want to answer about how his carbon tax is driving 1 in 5 Canadians to skip meals and 1.5 million to go to food banks. What do you know? Justin has given himself the day off again. Imagine if everyday Canadians did what he did. If you're a waitress and you don't show up for work, you're fired. If you're a barber, you don't show up for work, you're fired. If you're Justin Trudeau, you don't show up for work, you get a taxpayer-funded vacation. Canadians are out of money, Trudeau is out of touch, and I suspect very soon he'll be out of the country again.
What are the next steps with the Michael Chong situation? He raised a question of privilege yesterday in the House of Commons. The Speaker is examining that. Are you looking for any further investigation into who knew what when, because the Public Safety Minister and the Prime Minister haven't been clear about when exactly they learned of this?
We want the Public Safety Minister to tell us when he knew, and when any other members of the Liberal Cabinet know. When did Bill Blair know? He had been Public Safety Minister. When did the Prime Minister in his office know? I find it very hard to believe that CSIS would produce a document about a Canadian MP's family being threatened because of a vote on the floor of the House of Commons, and that they wouldn't tell the Prime Minister or his top Public Safety Minister. This is insane. You know, if any one of you were to threaten the family of an MP because of a vote in the House of Commons, you'd be in jail. This guy's not only not in jail, he's in Canada with diplomatic immunity. Immunity granted him by Justin Trudeau. Trudeau's not only keeping this agent in our country, by credentialing him, he's giving him diplomatic immunity, which means he could not be prosecuted under criminal code provisions the same way any other Canadian would be. In other words, this person has a higher status above the law in our country than anyone who's a citizen of Canada, because Trudeau credentials him.
Quelle preuve vous avez que Monsieur Trudeau savait?
Do you have that Mr. Trudeau knew this 2 years ago and did nothing? There's no evidence of that. Where is that evidence? I'm asking that question. Just wait. Just wait. I'm talking about your attack on Mr. Trudeau. What kind of proof do you have? First of all, it's not an attack. We know that the Trudeau government knew. That's a fact. The Trudeau government knew. The article was in the Globe and Mail for 48 hours. His Minister of Public Safety was asked yesterday in the House, 10 times? And he did not answer. What is he hiding? And if Justin Trudeau has nothing to hide, then he would be at question period.
Prime Minister Cabinet, what makes you think it's not CSIS perhaps didn't have the right protocol, or they didn't see fit to inform Mr. Chong himself?
Has the Prime Minister said that CSIS withheld this information from him? Because you want to know what proof? Justin Trudeau's own Chief of Staff said nothing is withheld from the Prime Minister, and that he reads everything he gets. So based on her testimony at a parliamentary committee, we should believe that CSIS would have brought this to the Prime Minister's attention. I can't fathom the thought that an intelligence agency would know of a threat against an MP's family because of a vote conducted in the House of Commons and wouldn't tell the Prime Minister that? If that's the case, then he's not actually running the government. He's just a figurehead, and he's not doing his job.
What light do you hope the Prime Minister's brother might shed on these matters?
Concernant la Fondation Trudeau, et M. Trudeau lui dit, il n'y a pas de lien,
c'est mon frère, je l'aime beaucoup, mais il fait ses affaires. Mr. Trudeau has said he's my brother and I love him very much, but I'm not involved in those matters. What do you have to say about that? Yes, they're brothers. Listen, let's look at the facts.
Les services de renseignement ont dit
Intelligence services have said that the reason why China gave the $140,000 to the Trudeau Foundation was to influence Justin Trudeau, who facilitated that donation. Justin Trudeau's brother. It's all within the family. It's foreign money that was intended to influence our Prime Minister, and it's time for transparency, because the Prime Minister should be working for us and not for those who donate money to the Trudeau Foundation. And finally, the two investigators chosen to investigate foreign interference are former members of the Trudeau Foundation. So the foundation continues with the same name, the same brother, the same investigators. There are too many ties to say that Mr. Trudeau did not know.
The only way to answer that question is with a full public inquiry. We need to know how CSIS conducted itself and to what extent this has really been Justin Trudeau's failure. The only way to get to those answers is to have a full public inquiry.
If you're Prime Minister, would you take questions every Wednesday from the opposition leader?
When I'm in town, I'll be taking questions.
But so when you're not in town, does that mean you're not working?
No,
Vous comprenez ce que je veux dire, là?
No, je comprends pas.
You understand what I mean, right? No, I don't understand what you're saying. When I see the Prime Minister in New York talking to celebrities, he was not working at that time. I accept that sometimes the Prime Minister has to travel abroad, but for him, it's too much. It doesn't make sense to go to New York at the same time that we're having a strike of over 150,000 employees, when 1 in 5 Canadians are skipping meals because food prices are too high and there's a foreign interference crisis, high crime. He goes to New York to talk to Hollywood actors. That's not a work trip, that's a vacation.
Il n'interdit pas des armes d'assaut. Il était en train d'interdire des armes d'épaule de grand-père Joe. No.
He's going after Grandpa Joe's hunting rifles.
Justin Trudeau avoue qu'il ne sait même pas ce que c'est une arme d'assaut.
Justin Trudeau doesn't even know what an assault-style weapon is. He wants to prohibit hunters. That's the reality. He said it aloud, and we have the quote on video. Justin Trudeau wants to ban Indigenous peoples, farmers, and hunters rather than targeting the true criminals and traffickers. It doesn't make any sense. He needs to strengthen our borders to stop the trafficking of illegal weapons and put repeat offenders behind bars. That makes sense, and that's what we, the Conservatives, will do.
Well, so here's what we already know. The dictatorship in Beijing gave $140,000 to the Trudeau Foundation, according to an intercepted phone call involving a member of the Chinese consulate. The purpose of this donation was to influence Justin Trudeau. Sacha Trudeau signed on the dotted line, negotiated and recruited this donation. We want to know more about how this foreign dictatorship is influencing Trudeau and his family with money. And that's why he has to testify. It's time for the Prime Minister to end the vacation, get into the House of Commons and answer questions. Speaking of ending vacations, getting to work, I've got work to do. Thank you very much.